Hello friends. So today we will be discussing about some of the geography questions that is asked in this year's preliminary examination 2025. See, this year also we are seeing that some of the questions, particularly in physical geography, line by line we have an instance where they have taken from NCERT. Last year the number of such questions were very high. So going by this logic, somewhere we will start solving some of the questions. And the options and answers what I may give, slightly it may differ from the other popular sources what you have in the market. Because I understand UPSC do not release the key instantaneously, we have to wait for 1 year. And obviously the key what most of the popular source which is available may not be exactly matching with the UPSC keys as such. Small variation here and there it will be there. And some of the questions I feel that these questions will be debatable questions. Okay. With that logic, I am just getting into the questions as such. Okay. Now my friends, reading this statement, there is a 3-statement question, right? See, geography is one subject, not only geography, environment and science and technology. Knowledge is one aspect that is very important, accepted. But apart from that, look for some of the operative words in the examination. These operative words, when I say operative words, I mean look for these extreme words and relative words. For example, when I talk about geography, my dear friends, I would always feel that 80 to 90% of time, whenever I come across absolute words, what is this absolute word? A word which depicts either 0% or 100%, correct? Which talks about the extremes, I call them as what? Absolute words or extreme words as such. Words like no, words like every, words like none, words like all, right? Words like shall, words like always, am I right? These are some of the words like must, correct? Words like, right, none I have just included, right? Words like only, right? Very important word, I cannot leave this word. Most of the time when I come across these words, my dear friends, 80 to 90% of the time I feel that the statement will be wrong. Again, I am not saying every time, most of the time, correct? On the other hand, if I am just going for relative words, words like some, right? Words like at times, right? Words like almost, words like may, am I right? I can have, say, for example, so many other examples, right? All these words I call them as what? Relative words, right? Now here, why I am saying this extreme words are to be taken into consideration, because any subject you take it, always it comes with an exception, right? I cannot have 0 or 100% always. It always comes with some exception. Why I am very much interested in talking about the same, my dear friends, if I read this very first statement, everything is fine. Without atmosphere, the temperature would be well below the freezing point. What they are saying, if atmosphere of the earth is not there, right, temperature on all the parts of the earth will be below 0 degrees centigrade. It means, according to them, it will be glaciated. Entire atmosphere or entire earth will be what? Glaciated. Okay. Now comes the question, right? What they say, everywhere on the earth's surface. What is bothering me is everywhere. I agree that atmosphere is very important in maintaining temperature. Not only atmosphere, particularly greenhouse gases are very important. One statistic says that if greenhouse gases is not there, the temperature of the earth will be somewhere reduced by 33 degrees centigrade, right? Today I have somewhere around 15 degrees centigrade average temperature. If carbon dioxide would have not been there, if greenhouse gases would have not been there, temperature of the earth will be colder by 33 degrees centigrade. Somewhere it will be minus 18 degrees. Now, what is my botheration is everywhere, correct? For example, I will take the case of Mercury. When I talk about the planet Mercury, Mercury has one of the thinnest atmosphere. But still I understand, Mercury, everywhere it is not freezing. Mercury is not the hottest planet. Venus is the hottest planet. Am I right? Proximity to the sun alone will not determine the temperature. Correct. So what is the botheration, my dear friends? Everywhere. Somewhere I strongly believe that everywhere makes this statement wrong. Once I believe that this first statement is wrong, wherever 1 comes in, I am removing it. A, I am removing it. B, I am removing it. C, I am removing it. My answer will be what? D. Further, I can check it. If I want to answer it, I can check it. Most of the time, I believe that this will be right. Heat absorbed and trapped by the atmosphere maintain our planet's average temperature. Right? They are talking about greenhouse effectivity. Right? How greenhouse gases helps in maintaining the temperature. Yes, it is correct. Atmospheric gases like carbon dioxide, right, are particularly good at absorbing and trapping radiation. Particularly they are talking about terrestrial radiation. Of course, I understand one of the primary job facilitated by carbon dioxide is what? Acting as a greenhouse effectivity. Once I remove the statement 1, automatically I get an answer, but still I am telling you that why exactly other 2 statements are correct. Okay? Right. Moving further, next question. This question is more based on current affairs. It is based on article which was published very recently. The World Bank warned that India could become one of the first place where the wet bulb temperature routinely exceeds 35 degrees centigrade. Which of the following statement best reflects the implication of the above said report? Correct. It means here, to be very precise, this question is factual. It is not even logical. Because you have to say that among the given, say for example, option, which is getting reflected in that report. Just with logic, I cannot answer this question. Why I am telling you, right, for example, if at all if I am saying, right, if at all if the temperature is increasing, surpassing 35 degree, it is more like global warming. That is okay. I know if at all if earth is warming, I can understand that peninsular part of India will most likely to suffer flooding, tropical cyclones, droughts, etc. That I can agree. But to be very precise, my answer should be based on that report. This report do not talks about peninsular part of India in particular. This report was more talking about the effect of this temperature rise, right? How exactly it is affecting the life in general, right? Both, say for example, humans and animals both. In that way, my dear friends, read the statement. According to this report, survival of animal including humans will be affected as the shedding of body heat through perspiration becomes very difficult, right? Somewhere according to this report, the statement 2 is right, and if that is the case, the best option here will be what? 2. I repeat again, this question is more factual. The statements should be according to the report. Going according to the report, statement 2 alone is what? Correct. See, question number 3. This question is cut, copy, paste question from NCERT. This question is talking about the evidence of continental drift theory. This is Alfred Wegener's continental drift theory. So many evidence they have given. NCERT, they have given so many, say for example, subtopics and so many evidence they have given. For example, whatever the statement it is given, I will compare it with NCERT, my dear friends. Very first evidence, what they say? The belt of ancient rocks from Brazilian coast matches with those of Western Africa. Right. If I see NCERT, I am just reading it as it is. See, the belt of ancient rocks, this 2000 million years it is somewhere missing. Okay. From the Brazilian coast matches with that of Western Africa. Then I take the sentence line by line, except this 2000 million years, rest of the things are exactly what? Matching. Okay. So statement 1 is absolutely correct. Now I am coming to statement 2. Read it. The gold deposits of Ghana are derived from the Brazilian plateau when the 2 continents lay side by side. This is the evidence of placer gold deposit. Again, line by line I will show you, my dear friends. Right. When I just talk about it, the gold deposits of Ghana are derived from the Brazilian plateau when the 2 continents lay side by side. Again see, right, exactly it is matching with what is given in NCERT. And finally, I will show you one more statement. First statement is exactly matching with NCERT. Second statement is matching with NCERT. Third statement, I will read it first. The Gondwana system of sediments from India is known to have its counterpart in 6 different land masses of southern hemisphere. Now let me read NCERT lines. When I talk about tillite deposits, right? somewhere they say the Gondwana system of sediments from India is known to have its counterpart in 6 different land masses of the southern hemisphere. Again, line by line it is what? Matching. So taken from NCERT directly, right? All 3 is correct. 1, 2, 3 is correct. My answer will be C here. Okay? Right. Now going to 4th question. Again, this 4th question has more relevance with current affairs. But see, conventionally when I talk about, say for example 5 years before, 10 years before, when you start preparing for the map based question, you will be having some hot topics, right? What are the countries through which equator will be passing? What are the countries through which Tropic of Cancer will be passing, Capricorn will be passing? What are the very important lakes through which this Cancer Capricorn will be passing? Even if you would have done, say for example, that the traditional way of practicing map, still I could have answered this question. Otherwise, all these lakes they have taken from current events and current importance. They are very important lakes. But very interestingly, none of the lakes through which equator passes through, right? Through how many of them does equator passes? None of them, but still they are very, very important. For this lake, Tanganyika, Tanganyika is a very important, very popular lake. It is there in Africa. Even say for example, very recently United Nations Environment Program has convened one program. It is more like a sea. You cannot even call it as a lake because this is the longest lake in the entire world. It is not largest, but it is longest. More than 400 kilometers of the length it has. Almost 4 or 5 countries it will be having a boundary. Democratic Republic of Congo, Burundi, Tanzania, Zambia. All this country will be having a boundary with this lake. Okay. But whatever it is the case, very interestingly, it is continuously there in news, right? But equator do not pass us through it. But very close to equator. On the other hand, when I talk about lake Tonle Sap, Tonle Sap is there in Cambodia. It is a lake which is part of Mekong River system. But once I know Cambodia, I know that Cambodia is slightly far away from the equator. If I know that it is there in Cambodia, I can remove it, right? And Patas Lagoon. Again, Patas Lagoon was very recently, it is there in news, and it is a lagoon in Brazilian coastline, but way south, right? So again, if I just talk about Brazil, northern part of Brazil, equator passes through. But southern part of Brazil, it is substantially far away from what? This equatorial region as such. It means all 3 I eliminate. Answer is what? None. None of them equator passes through. See, one more thing. Map based question, most of the question elimination technique will work. If I am able to eliminate 1 or 2, I will be getting an option. But unfortunately, this type of question elimination will not work. Sarcastically I say that if at all if elimination you have to do, only the question can be eliminated, not the options. Okay. Now still my dear friends, right? Only if you know all 3, somewhere you should attend this question, otherwise don't take risk. Okay. Right. Question number 4. See, this type of question, it is an extended assertion and reasoning type of a question. Last year, 1 or 2 questions of this kind came in. This year, more questions came in. Right? Every year, whenever a new pattern is coming in, they will be giving you a hint in the previous year. Assertion and reasoning question is also not very new. Assertion and reasoning, somewhere I will say that it is more like an old wine in a new bottle. Assertion and reasoning type of a question is very popular before a decade. It is very popular before when CSAT was introduced. But again, this question is getting repeated. They don't call it as assertion and reasoning, but they'll be giving us 2 statement questions, right? This is an extended version of assertion and reasoning. Now, what is very interesting here, they give you 3 statements, but if I analyze this statement, right, everywhere I understand statement 1 is right. Okay. Because see, when I read this option A, both statement 2 and statement 3 are correct, and both of them explain statement 1. Correct? Option B, statement 2 and statement 3 are correct, but only one explains statement 1. Option C, only one of the statement 2 and 3 is correct, and that explains statement 1. Option D, neither statement 2 nor statement 3 is correct. It means if I analyze all this, one thing I can conclude, statement 1 is always correct. So somewhere sitting and thinking or somewhere reading this and finding a fault is waste of time. It means by default this statement is right, my dear friends. Okay. If that is the logic, what is the fact they are saying? It is more like a statement. It is more like a fact. It is a factual statement, true statement. Scientific studies suggest that a shift is taking place in Earth's rotation and axis. Don't question. Right. Is it happening? Is this axis of Earth is going for a change? Is this rotation going for a change? My dear friend, it is a fact. Statement 1 is correct by default. Okay. Only thing is that I have to search an answer for it. Okay. Now I will analyze. This is a fact. Fact says Earth's rotation and axis is going for a shift. Fact says rotation or axis of Earth is going for a wobbling. Right? Shift is also somewhere, the inclination is also slowly, steadily it is changing. Very minor, very minor. In our generation it is not noticeable. Correct? But whatever it is the case, now we read statement 2. Solar flares and associated coronal mass ejection bombarded the Earth's outermost atmosphere with a tremendous amount of energy. Everything is fine. Now I have to apply my mind. When I just talk about, say for example, the solar flare and associated coronal mass ejection, very simple, put it very simple, strong solar wind, that's all. Can a solar wind tilt the Earth? Can the solar wind, say for example, affect the rotation of the Earth? It is minimal, negligible. Correct? See, solar wind can't affect atmosphere. But imagine solar wind is somewhere, right, somewhere impacting the rotation of the Earth. Somewhere I understand it is very, very negligible. It may not have its impact as such. Solar wind can have its impact on magnetosphere of the Earth. It can create auroras of the world. That is okay. But that changing, right, the axis of rotation, not possible. So somewhere I am eliminating statement 2. Statement 3. As Earth's polar ice melt, the water tends to move towards what? Equator. Very much fine. Two things. Whenever polar ice cap is melting, the mean sea level will increase. Correct? So one thing I understand, if mean sea level is increasing, throughout the world it will increase. But whatever it is the case, polar region it will be deshedding, other regions of the world the weight will be increasing. So it means distribution of the weight becomes what? Not uniform. It becomes ununiform. Or on the other hand, when I talk about equatorial region, because of the centrifugal effectivity, more water can be collected. Okay. And say for example, this equatorial region can become what? More heavier also. Okay. If that is the case, my dear friend, somewhere I believe this does explain statement 1. So what is my understanding? Out of these two statements, one statement, see, statement 1 is also correct. Statement 1 is, statement 2 is correct. But the only point what I am saying, statement 2 does not explain what? Statement 1. Correct? Statement 3 is correct and it also explains what? Statement 1. If that is the case, right, what can be the best option if you ask me, right? Individually I understand. One is a fact, no need to check it. Statement 2 is correct, but not explaining statement 1. Statement 3 is correct, but it is also explaining what? Statement 1. So if that is the case, among the given option, what is best? Both statement 2 and statement 3 are correct, but only one of them explains statement 1. And I know that what is that one? That one is nothing but what? Statement 3. So the best option here is B. So I am telling you, civil service examination, preliminary examination particularly, it is not about selecting the right answer. It is always about selecting the best option. Okay. Select the closest one to the reality. Right? Further? And this is a very direct question, my dear friends. Next question. When I talk about, consider the following pairs: country and resource rich region. Botswana, diamond. Again current affairs. Very recently, Botswana, they have identified, they have discovered, they have mined the second largest diamond of the world so far. Right? If I am not wrong, second only to this Cullinan diamonds. Okay? Botswana is known for diamonds. Botswana's, GDP itself is determined by this diamond mining. Chile, lithium, obviously. When I talk about this lithium triangle, 3 countries, they have maximum of this lithium deposits, right? Chile, Argentina, and to some extent it is the Peru, and adjoining Bolivia also I can take it, right? If that is the case, lithium is majorly deposited in what? Chile. And when it comes to nickel, I understand Indonesia is one of the most prominent producers and reservoirs of what? Nickel. So all 3 is correct. All of the above is what? Correct. Okay. Going to the second question. Next question. Consider the following pairs. See, this is a very tricky question. Very tricky question. This question should have been given as a match the following type of a question, right? They have given some of the regions in the world and they have asked which country it is. See, I used to say that UPSC always asks at least one question from Mediterranean Sea every year. Mediterranean Sea is one of the favorite areas for questions as such. Again, if I somewhere talk about this region, though all these regions are there in Europe, 2 of the regions are very important island territories of Mediterranean Sea. But the only problem what they have done, right, they have almost mismatched it. For example, when I talk about Mallorca, they have given it as Italy, but it is a very famous tourist destination of what? Spain, right? Slightly in the eastern side of Spain, within Mediterranean Sea, I will be having this Mallorca, right, as a destination. Again, continuously it will be there in news, Mallorca. Very recently, Spain protested for over tourism, right? So, which part of Spain protested for over tourism very recently? It is Mallorca. Then they have given Normandy. Normandy is a part of France, right? Normandy is part of France, very close to the English Channel. Very close to the Dover Strait, I will be having this Normandy, which is part of France. Okay, but they have matched it with what? Spain. And my dear friends, when I talk about the Sardinia is a part in what? Italy. Again, Sardinia is an island. Italy has many islands. The largest island you call them as what? Sicily Islands. And apart from that, slightly towards the, say for example, the western side, you have the Sardinia. Again in Mediterranean Sea. Again this is an island but belongs to what? Italy. But what is very interesting, none of the names are matching, right? In how many of the above rows is the given information correctly matched? Unfortunately, none, right? They have mixed it, but none of them is matching. Next question. This is a very interesting question. Consider the following statement. This question is with respect to international date line, right? Consider the following statement. Anadr in Siberia and Nome in Alaska are a few kilometers from each other. But when people are waking up and getting set for breakfast in these cities, it would be different days. For the simple reason, both these places are located on the either side of this international date line. Okay. When I talk about, say for example, Anadr is there in Siberia. Right. I'll take this international date line, my dear friends. International date line. Right. International date line. One side I have Alaska. Maybe here they have given us what? Nome. Another side I have what? Siberia. Right. They have given Anadr. So what they say, they are separated only by few kilometers. Maybe here Anadr and Nome. Okay. Separated only by few kilometers, but certainly speaking days are different. Because Alaska is located on the eastern side of international date line and Siberia is located in what? Western side of international date line. Fact number 1 is perfectly right. Perfect. Now coming to fact number 2. When it is Monday in Anadr, it is Tuesday in Nome. Here I have a problem. What is the problem? If it is Monday in Anadr, right, it should be Sunday, not Tuesday. My dear friends, any new day will start immediately west of international date line and further it will be proceeding towards west. If it is a new day on the western side of international date line, it will be the old day or the previous day on the other side of international date line. If it is Monday on the Siberian side, it should not be Tuesday, rather it should be what? Sunday. Correct? In that way, my dear friends, this question or this statement is what? Wrong. Answer to this question is one only. Right? Now going to the next question. Right. Again a simple logical question. I told you this statement, my dear friends, statement 1, by default it is correct. It is a factual statement. What exactly they say? In the context of effect of water on rock, chalk is known as a very permeable rock, whereas clay is known as quite an impermeable rock or least permeable rock. Percolation, when I talk about water percolation, chalk, right? Wherever I have more of a calcium carbonates, right, I will be having this chalk. Chalk, percolation of the water will be more, correct? Permeability will be more, but clay, the permeability is less. Let's not say, for example, sit and think about this statement because I know the fact, right? What is given here is what? Already correct. Now, only thing is that I have to go for this explanation. Individually, I will check it first. Statement 2. Chalk is porous. What is porous? It is all about the possibility of water or air entering. You call them as what? Porous. Right? If water or air can very easily enter, you call them as what? Porous. Right? Chalk is porous and hence can absorb water. Absolutely it is right. And I also understand directly it is also explaining the statement 1. Now read the statement 3. Clay is not at all porous. My dear friends, extreme words. When I started this discussion, I told knowledge is one side, but look for these extreme words. Not at all. Not is there. At all is there. Am I right? They are saying that never clay is what? Porous. See, if examiner is saying that clay is less porous, I agree. Right? But if somebody is saying that clay is not at all porous, I cannot agree because clay is still a sand. Right? The very fine alluvial deposits makes it as a clay. Right? Whenever I say sand, it is not a rock. It is not so thickly packed. I can understand the porosity can be very less, but still it is porous. If that is the case, just because they have used extreme words, I would say that this statement 3 is what? Wrong. Now I will check for it. Okay. Somewhere I understand if statement 3 is wrong, only one of the statement 2 and 3 is correct and that explains statement 1, right. This should be my answer. Okay. Right. Question number 10, see, question number 10, it is debatable. Why I am saying debatable? The answer what I may give may be different and what it is popularly available in the net source may be different. But still you wait for the UPSC key to be released, then we will have a complete picture. I will tell you why. See, when I talk about this time zone based question, generally we feel any country which has more than 15 degree of longitudinal extent, more than 50 degree of longitudinal extent will be having more than one time zone. India is an exception, China is an exception. India longitudinally extends up to 30 degree, approximately, precisely 29 degree. India like country should have 2 time zones, but unfortunately we are having only time zone. China should have 4 or 5 time zones, but China is having only 1 time zone. That is an exception. Apart from that, what is the logic, my dear friends? Any country which is extending beyond this 15 degree of longitudinal extent will be having more than 1 time. Right. Accordingly, I understand the entire world is divided into 24 time zones of 15 degree each. Now, among the given countries, I have to understand that what exactly they are saying, very tricky. How many of the above countries have more than 4 time zones? When I talk about more than 4 time zones, right, I should talk about countries which is having at least how many time zones? 5 time zones. Minimum is 5 time zones. That's what the question says, right? So what exactly is the question? Any country which has 5 and more time zones, they are asking how many of them. Now here, this is one question where I should go for elimination technique. United Kingdom, yes it is. Now you may wonder, what is this? United Kingdom is a very small island. United Kingdom is somewhere located within one single time zone, but still, why United Kingdom is having so many time zones? Because the territory of United Kingdom is spreading in different time zones. According to the popular sources, United Kingdom has at least 9 different time zones. See, there is a very popular British statement, right? Pre-independence statement, Britain statement, they say, the sun will never set in British Empire. What is the meaning? Somewhere they feel that all 24 time zones, British Empire is there. By the time sun sets in one region, one time zone or one British region, sun will be there in the sky in another British region. That is the meaning. Today, United Kingdom, any colonial powers you take it, my dear friends, any colonial powers, they have so many extended territories. If not as mainland, at least as island territories they have, right? So going by that logic, yes, United Kingdom we have. Then coming to Denmark. Denmark again is a small country. But Denmark, does it have more than 5 time zones, if you ask me? 5 or more than 5 time zones? Answer is yes. How come it is possible? Not because of Denmark, but because of Greenland. Greenland is a territory belong to what? Denmark. Mainland Denmark in Europe may have only 1, but Greenland is adding another 4. Correct? So I am including Denmark. Here I am removing New Zealand. According to me, the mainland in New Zealand, see here, time zones, one of the, say for example, almost, when I talk about confusion, so why exactly confusion comes in, including Wikipedia information, for somewhere taking these time zones, they also calculate the so-called summer timing or daylight saving time. Technically speaking, daylight saving time or summer timing should not be considered for time zones. Going by that logic, mainland New Zealand has only 2 time zones, the dependent territory has 1 time zone, right? According to my analysis, New Zealand has only 3 time zones, including the dependent territory, what I am just telling. But here, as I said, most of the keys available in the net, they have included time zone of, sorry, New Zealand they have included, but I am not including, I am excluding it. We will wait for the key to come. Even if I am supposed to correct it, let me correct it after 1 year. Okay? I am just taking out New Zealand. Australia, yes. Australia is a vast country, right? Australia is longitudinally very vast. Yes, Australia has plenty of time zones. Now I am eliminating Brazil, right? Brazil I am eliminating because Brazil, including a very small, right, time zones towards the western side, Brazil I can have only 2 time zones, right? Only 2 time zones. If I also include the island territories of Brazil, I can include what? 3 time zones. So what I am excluding here is New Zealand, what I am excluding here is Brazil. See, logic is very simple. Number 1, any colonial countries will have more territories. If at all, if you are satisfied, yes, this is a colonial country, right? Colonial superpower. I am not talking about colonies. I am talking about a country who was colonized. Okay, right. UK comes under this. Or this country should be very vast. Longitudinally, it should be large. If not, you eliminate it. According to my analysis, my dear friends, out of 5, I am going only for 3, right? Only 3, C will be my choice. But as I said, most of the keys in the market talks about 4. Anyway, we will wait and watch. Right, this statement. Again, this question is one of the questions what I can answer from NCRT itself. What is this question? Consider the following statement. This is assertion and reasoning type of a question. Okay. Statement 1. In January, the northern hemisphere, isotherms bend equatorward while crossing the landmass and poleward while crossing the oceans. What exactly they are saying? Northern hemisphere, January, isotherm. Line joining places having same temperature, you call them as what? Isotherm. If you are there in the land, they say it will bend towards equator. If you are there in the water, it says that it will bend towards what? Poles. We will check it. Simple image taken from NCRT. Directly I can see. You are there in the land, bend is towards what? Equator. You are there in the water, bend is towards what? Poles. Exactly matching. Right? And one more thing, this isotherm map, my dear friends, 3 years, 3 questions. 2023, 2024, 2025. Same page of NCRT, right? One, say for example, NCRT, isotherms, if I am just talking about, continuously 3 years they are asking the question, right? Hat trick. With this year it is a hat trick, right? Right, my dear friends. Now, I talk about the statement 1. Statement 1 is correct. Assertion is correct. Now they talk about the reason. Why it is so? They say in January the air over the ocean is warmer. Make it very simple. Simply they say ocean is warmer and than that of the land masses in the northern hemisphere. What exactly they are trying to say? They say in the month of January, right, water will be warmer, land will be colder. That is a fact. My dear friends, water maintains temperature. Summers what happens? Land will be warm, water will be cold. Winters vice versa. Winters what will happen? Land will become cold, water will become comparatively warm. That is what they are saying, right? Why exactly it is bending? Just because the air over the ocean will be what? Warmer. Right? Water maintains temperature. Fluctuation of temperature in water is what? Very, very minimal. So, assertion is also correct, reason is also correct, and reason explains what? Assertion. If that is the case, answer to this question should be what? A. Both statement 1 and statement 2 are correct, and statement 2 explains statement 1. See, assertion and reasoning type of a question, how to check it? Individually you check the validity. Individually see whether the statement is right or wrong. After checking the individual validity, both the statement you integrate with the word called as what? Because. Right? Use this word because. Right? If at all, I am just using this conjunction. Both the sentence I am joining with the word called as because. If because makes meaningful sentence, then my answer is here. Because if it is not meaningful, then my answer will be what? B. Here, my answer is A. Okay? Right, my dear friends. Now again going to one NCERT based question. Right. Again assertion, again reason. Statement 1. The amount of dust particles, aerosols, right? The same thing I will take it, chapter 8 of your NCERT, Fundamentals of Physical Geography, right? You check under this aerosol topic, you will be finding the similar lines. The amount of dust particles in atmosphere is more in subtropical and temperate area than in equatorial and polar region, right? I will show this NCERT snapshot, right? Print screen, that's it. Somewhere if I just talk about it, they say, right? They talk about this concentration. They say the dust particles, higher concentration of dust particles is found in subtropical and temperate region than in equatorial and polar region. They have not used this word called as than here. NCERT has used this word called as what? Comparison. So NCERT clearly says subtropical region and temperate region has more dust particles than equatorial region and polar region. The same sentence is given here. So this assertion is correct. Now the reason. Subtropical and temperate areas have less dry winds. Right? This is interesting. Now if I read it, what they say, due to dry winds, right, than in equatorial and polar region. According to this sentence, what exactly they say, right, more dry winds are there in what? Subtropical and temperate region. But here, what exactly they are saying here, according to the statement they say that subtropical and temperate have less dry winds, but NCERT clearly says subtropical and temperate regions have more of dry winds. Though they have not used the word called as more, certainly speaking, right, wherever dry winds are more, aerosols or dust particles will be deflated in the atmosphere. Wherever moisture content is more or the density of the air mass is more, all this, say for example, this dust particles will be settling in ground. Okay. When I talk about this dust particles, whenever moisture is more, it will be attracting the moisture. Dust particles will be acting as hygroscopic nuclei. Dust particles will become what? Heavier, it will start settling down. So where dry conditions are there, dust particles will be more. So my dear friends, direct interpretation of NCERT lines, the statement 2 is wrong. If statement 2 is wrong, right, directly I can say that statement 1 is correct and statement 2 is not correct. My answer to this question will be what? C. Okay. Finally, adding one more question, right? And this again, one interesting question, map based question. And what is very important, Last year also this question was asked. This year also this question was asked. Last year they have given the name of the mountain, they have asked which continent it is there. This year they have given the mountain and they are asking what are the countries you have it. Because this mountain, Andes mountain, is the world's longest mountain, right? Consider the following system, countries. Andes mountains passes through how many of the above countries? Okay. Now see, what is the logic, I'll tell you. This mountain passes through plenty of countries. It passes through Venezuela, it passes through Colombia, it passes through Ecuador, it passes through Peru, it passes through Bolivia, it passes through Argentina, it passes through Chile. So many countries it passes through. 7 different countries it passes through. Okay. But what is the problem here? Somewhere I understand practically it is not possible for me to remember all the 7. Right? At least here again they have given only 6. Right? Somewhere I believe, say for example, Venezuela they have given, Colombia they have given, Ecuador they have given, right? Bolivia, Chile they have not given, Argentina they have not given, right? Some of the countries they have not given. Okay, what is the logic? Andes mountains or Rocky mountains, particularly when I talk about these mountain systems in Americas, both South America and North America, they are located along the western side of the continent. It means they are located along what? Pacific coastline. So what is my simple logic? Somewhere in this list, I will look for the countries which is there in the eastern side of the continent. South America, it is very easy to remember. Because South America is that continent in the world which has the least number of countries, only 12 countries. Including French Guyana, if I just take it, it is 12 plus 1. French Guyana politically do not belong to South America, it belongs to what? Europe, France. Okay. But otherwise 12 countries, generally we say that very easily you can remember. Okay. In that way, what I will do, I will just see. If at all, if I am satisfied that if this country is more situated towards the eastern side, I will eliminate it. If it is situated more towards the western side, I will retain it. Bolivia, almost central, but still on the western side. Right? Bolivia is still a very part of what? Andes mountain. And when I talk about the capital of Bolivia, La Paz, this is the highest capital in the entire world. Okay. And you have a very important lake called as Titicaca. Right. Bolivia is very, very popular, and I know the fact that Andes runs there, right? But otherwise also Bolivia is largely in the western side. Though do not have a coastline, Bolivia is a landlocked country. Paraguay is a landlocked country. But still I understand, since it is there in the western coast, I will not eliminate it. Or in the western side, sorry. Brazil I will eliminate it. Because largely Brazil in the eastern side. Correct? I will eliminate it. Colombia I will take it. West coast, exactly coast. Ecuador I take it, exactly coast. Paraguay I will eliminate it. Right? Paraguay I will eliminate it because again I understand, like say for example the reason like Brazil, Paraguay is slightly on the eastern side. Paraguay is not coastal country. Paraguay is a landlocked country, but still I am eliminating it because it is located on the eastern side. Venezuela, I am including it because it starts from Venezuela. Again Venezuela is along the coastal region as such. So I remove Brazil, I remove Paraguay. Out of 6 I am just removing 2. Right, what will be left is what? 4. I will go for what? Only 4. Okay. Right, my dear friends. So here again I have just given approximately where all I will be having. Technically speaking, even Venezuela, this is Venezuela, even Venezuela we have the extension of Andes mountains, right. So these are some of the questions which is asked this year in the examination. Somewhere I feel neither it is too easy nor it is very difficult. Last year geography was damn easy. That's the reason cutoff was slightly on a higher side. See, everybody says that last year cutoff is 87.98, approximately getting converted into 88. But let me tell you technically, last year cutoff is not 88. Last year cutoff is 94. Why I am saying 94? Because when I say 88, all 100 question is not taken. 3 question is dropped. Right? So it means I have to add the 3 questions. When I say 88, it is not out of 200 marks, it is out of 194, right? So last year cutoff was significantly higher, it was slightly, somewhere I feel it is 94. This year, marginally should be less than that. That is my belief, but still, right? Whoever is preparing for mains examination, prepare with your best of the efforts, right? Rest of you, again put your continuous efforts for the next year's examination. Make your basics very, very strong. Particularly for subjects like geography, I would repeatedly recommend NCERT. You can go for additional books, even GC Leong you can go for it, but only after mastering NCERT. Thank you and God bless.